the cheetah, which is taken to be as leopard, and the Himalayan dew and the gharial have almost become extinct in India. We hardly see any of these species. Now, government felt that the sole efforts of government cannot actually protect species and cannot stop the species of the vulnerable category to actually come into the category of becoming extinct. So, they thought that it was wise if they actually pick up the help of the community, of the people, of the local masses which stayed around these forests. And this in fact is very wise step, because forests have been a home to traditional communities. There are communities which have been living in the forest, have been getting everything from the forest, have been praying to the forest as gods, and it is like they are indispensable without them. So, now what should the government do, or what has it done to see that the people actually come and help them in the conservation of these forest reserves? When the government and the communities joined hands, there are few examples wherein we see that the local people played a very vital role in preserving wildlife and forest resources. The biggest example that has come forward is of the Sariska Tiger Reserve in Rajasthan, wherein the people voiced against mining which was going on, and they gave the example of the Wildlife Protection Act of 1972. They said that it is under the Wildlife Protection Act that the mining has been banned in these areas. Therefore, they took up arms peacefully against the mining at Sariska Tiger Reserve in Rajasthan. The next example that we see is when the communities themselves, without taking help from the government, have been successfully able to preserve and conserve wildlife resources, and the forest resource is at the Alwar district in Rajasthan. Here, the people of the Alwar district have themselves given 1,200 hectares of land as Bhairavdev Dhakav sanctuary, as they call it. And this sanctuary, they say, is a place where no hunting or poaching can function, can continue. Therefore, here we see that the people themselves have become aware against the hunting and the poaching which goes on. So, whether we cite the example of the Sariska Tiger Reserve at Rajasthan, where they voiced against mining, or at Alwar district where they spoke against hunting and poaching and have actually made that land as a sanctuary, as they call it, named Bhairavdev Dhakav. Well, you also know the example of the Chipko movement, wherein it started in Himalayas and the people resisted against deforestation. They actually got themselves stuck to the trees and resisted the felling of trees. That was the Chipko movement in the Himalayas. Next is at Tehri, the people started with the Bij Bachao Andolan and the Navdanya, in which they decided that they are not going to use any synthetic chemicals, and whatever the natural fertilizers and ingredients are, they are going to make the agriculture viable out of that. Next is the government and the communities have come together and have started with a joint forest management program. This in fact was started in the year 1988 in Orissa, where both the government and the people have joined hands to save the forest and the wildlife resources. When the localites are indulged into this kind of programs, we see better results because they are generally more aware. They know who the poachers are, who the hunters are, how do they deal, where do they take them, and thus they are able to tell the forest department such information which cannot be easily available to them. Now, what are the benefits that the localites get for helping the government under the Joint Forest Management Program? They are allowed to collect fuel wood, firewood from the forest and other such things which do not harm or which are not actually responsible for the depletion of the forest. So, all these are the examples wherein the communities themselves have helped in the conservation of forest. So, whether it is at Sariska Tiger Reserve in Rajasthan or at Alwar district in Rajasthan, where they made a Bhairavdev Dhakav sanctuary, or the Chipko movement in the Himalayas, or the Beej Bachao Andolan, or the Navdanya in Tehri, or not to use synthetic chemicals, and the Joint Forest Management Program have definitely helped in conserving the forest and the wildlife resources in India. Remember children, forest and wildlife are a factor which is very important for our own existence. So, do your little bit to conserve forest. And all of you did a good job under the category when you started with the preservation of the Project Tiger, as you called it. Have a good day. Thank you.